Welcome to another episode of Marketing Tips for Doctors. I'm your host, Dr. Barbara Hales, and today we have with us a special character by the name of Justin Montgomery. What if you could turn your professional expertise into high profit, low maintenance educational business that runs 24/7, 365 days a year? Today's guest, Justin Allan Montgomery, did just that, starting and scaling an 8-figure course business, and now he is helping others do the same thing through Pro Course Start. He's here to bust myths, share frameworks, and challenge the just build a funnel crowd. If you are a skilled and licensed professional who is tired of trading hours for dollars, which the typical doctor is, this episode will change your mindset. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Hey, Barbara, thanks for having me on here. Appreciate it.
How did you get started in what you're doing now?
Yeah, I guess it was 2019. I decided that I wanted to start a business that was generally passive in nature. So I'm a nurse practitioner by training, right? I have 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's in nursing and became a nurse practitioner. And I worked urgent cares and ERs and that sort of a thing. And I was kind of getting sick and tired of just working for other people. Like I knew I was worth more than what I was getting paid. Like I saw how much I was billing and how much I was getting paid, and I was like, this is nonsense. So I started some practices first. So I started a couple of men's health clinics, a couple telemedicine practices. I scaled those, and I realized that in 2019, I realized that I had I developed some skills doing that a lot of people don't have. And I decided to start a blog called The Elite Nurse Practitioner in 2019. And I just wanted to talk about what I thought about the nurse practitioner field in general. Like it wasn't, roses and daisies. I mean, it was just honest truth. Like I did not like the nurse practitioner profession at that time. It was just, there's, degree mills or pumping out graduates, et cetera. And so I just spoke my mind. And I started realizing that people were asking me, how did you start your practices? And so I realized that I had some unique knowledge that other nurse practitioners wanted to know because they were sick of working for other people as well. So I decided to create a course. And so I created a course called basically How to Start a Men's Health Practice. And I literally walked through the steps from start to finish, from creating an LLC all the way to, ordering your first prescription, sort of a thing. And I created this course on how to start a men's health clinic, and I launched it to my audience, and we generated like 50,000 bucks in a couple weeks. I
That's
was
impressive.
like, yeah, without marketing it at all. Like I didn't have to market it because I established an audience. And so I got to spend $1 marketing that thing. And
Well,
then
right then and there, it was telling you, hey, I'm onto something.
I'm on to something. That's right. Like I was like, okay, like forget my practices. Like I'm going to double down on this. And then at that point, I created a course almost every single month for like 2 years. Like, so we created courses on how to do like how to start a medical cannabis clinic, how to start a telemedicine practice, how to integrate women's health and HRT into your practice, how to do weight loss, just a bunch of different courses. And I started selling those to just nurse practitioners. That's it. I didn't market it to anybody else. I mean, the course is still applicable to an MD or a DO, or I mean, it's the same thing. There's no difference, you know what I mean? But I only targeted nurse practitioners. I niched down. And so over a course of a couple of years, that course business, it turned into a 7-figure business within, I'm not joking, like the first year. Like I remember doing my taxes for 2020. So I launched it right kind of at the end of 2019 as a blog. I didn't launch my first course until March of 2020, right when COVID hit. And I remember when doing my taxes that year, and I was like, I almost generated $1 million from that business. I paid my house off like in 8 months. Like, so I realized I had something. And so I scaled that. I grew that business to a business that generates 8 figures a year in revenue. Yeah, that's kind of where I would, that I did it, and so, and I did all this myself. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't like read a book. I didn't really get any help from anyone. I kind of just figured it out. I used multidisciplinary kind of approach with traditional marketing techniques and building an audience and, you know, considering how to do like, CE accreditation to, bring in the professional accreditation component into it and that sort of a thing. So I just did it myself. And I decided to create ProCourseStart.com to teach professionals how to do the same thing, but from a little bit more of an unorthodox approach, not really just the traditional boring CE approach. So do it a little bit differently and, hopefully see the returns. So stop exchanging your time for money and like build a business that really is generally passive in nature. You sell courses when you sleep. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, we could definitely see what the advantages of passive income would be for providers who want to have a continuing education course on the side while they're,
Yep.
like seeing their patients. But what are some common pitfalls that you've noticed in starting an educational program?
Um, you're you're going to have some flops. People think that every course you're going to sell is going to be a hit. And so one of the pitfalls I would say is to just have realistic expectations with it. Don't get down on yourself if you create a product that it's not really doing that well. But I think one of the biggest pitfalls is people might underestimate the amount of time it takes to actually start the thing. you know, it's an easy business to keep operational, but it is not a super easy business to just start because you have to create a course. So like creating a course product, a continuing education course is not, you're not throwing a PowerPoint together and that's it. I mean, it needs to be structured, it needs to be for a professional, right? And so the time investment to get the business started is somewhat substantial in nature, but um, keeping it operational takes 5 to 10 hours a week. You know what I like? It takes no time to keep operational. Like once the course is developed and you create your website and develop your marketing campaigns and stuff, it's just sit back and answer emails. You know what I mean? So I'd say it's probably the biggest pitfalls. People kind of underestimate what it takes to actually start the thing. They don't realize how to do it appropriately. So should take you about 120 hours of actual focused work to start the actual business from start to launching your first course. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest pitfalls that people don't really don't realize. And they don't realize as well is that you go from being a professional, a medical doctor, a DO, an NP, a PA, an accountant, whatever. You go from being that, where you're so used to seeing clients and seeing patients, to now you're a digital creator. You have to switch your mindset, and if you don't, the business isn't going to do as well as it could. So I'd say another big pitfall is switching your mind from professional to now you are a digital creator and a marketer. That's really what it is. It's a marketing game. People don't realize that. That's what it is. You're not just on webinars teaching people. Like you got to get people to actually teach. So, yeah.
So how difficult would you say it is to start, and market an educational course like this?
I would say from a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give it a 5. It's really not that hard. It just takes some time and it takes a plan. Starting a medical practice, I would say that's probably more like an 8 or a 9 in difficulty scale because you have to deal with insurance, you have to deal with getting credentialed with insurance. You got to deal with patients. You got to deal with employees. You got to deal with physical location, the liability, the malpractice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have that with an online continuing education course business. That just doesn't exist. So I would say it's probably about a 5. It just takes some time to get it started. Once it's started, it's a gravy train after that. It's really not that difficult to keep the thing going. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing people don't spend enough time on is coming up with the idea, your actual value proposition. I get emails all the time from people, and with an idea for their course business, because basically, I mean, anyone can email me anytime, and I answer it. I don't have VAs, or I don't use AI agents to answer emails. Like, I answer it, and so I get emails all the time. This is the course business I want to start. You think this is a good idea? And no, it's not a good idea. Like, who's going to buy that? It's not. There's no value there. So like, you have to spend the time to actually develop your value proposition and think about who's going to buy this. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They just come up with an idea and they just going to sell it. Like, it doesn't work that way. So,
Yeah, well, that makes a tremendous amount of sense. What do you think the general marketing strategy is for a continuing education business?
so the general marketing strategy, the way I break it down in Pro Course Start is number one is that you have to build an audience. There are two models of a continuing education course business, three models really. The first model is selling a course without offering any kind of CE attached to it, without any actual official CE. People don't think that model is profitable. It is. I know it is, because I have students that I mentor who do it. Like, I mentored a guy who created an HRT business, and he did like $500,000 his first month, no CE whatsoever. So it can be profitable if the value and the information is worth someone spending some money on. They don't care about the CE. They actually want the information, right? Then number two is just, a traditional CE business where you build a business just to, offer CE. The value is in the CE, not necessarily the information, right? You're guilty of this. I'm guilty of this. You just buy a course so you can get your CE so you can be done with it. You know what I mean? Like, we all done it. I mean, we've all bought a CE course, kind of just went through it as fast as we possibly could because we needed 4 more CE credits, for our license or whatever. That model works, but it people don't care about the course. They just want the CE. Now, where the magic happens is if you can do both. If you can hybridize those, that's how you build a multi-million-dollar course business, because now people want the actual information and you have some CE with it attached to it. So now it's a tax write-off. Now their employer pays for it, with their stipends. Now, it adds credibility to the course, that sort of a thing. And so depending on what model you use is going to really determine on your general marketing strategy. But if you're going to just market a traditional CE business where you just pump out generic courses that have 1 CE hour attached to it, or 2 or 4, and it talks about a very traditional topic, let's say, for example, managing hypertension in 2025, or, pitfalls with managing congestive heart failure in a patient, or, whatever, right? Something very traditional in nature, something that you can actually just read, in a book, right? Um, that model is going to be essentially a volume game. You're going to have to just market the hell out of it. Like, you're going to have to just put it in front of as many eyes as you possibly can and hope people need CE to buy your courses. So the strategy there is going to be lots and lots of paid advertising, right? Digitally, direct mail, et cetera, right? Going to conferences, setting up a booth, the more traditional marketing kind of routes. Now, if you deliver value and you don't have CE, or you hybridize it where you're offering CE and value, that model requires you to build an audience. And so you have to build an audience. That's the foundation of your marketing strategy. And the way you do that is through lots and lots of free, valuable content. Nobody follows a traditional CE business. They don't care, right? I don't even know who I even got my opioid training that I had to have every 2 years from. I don't even know what business that was from. There's no audience there. So you want to build a course business where you build an audience, and you do that through content development. And then that's organic in nature. You can promote some of your content to accelerate the process, boosting posts on Facebook, Instagram, boosting a video on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, right? So you can get in front of people's eyes. You can do that. But if you create lots of content, SEO will start working its magic. GEO will start working its magic, generative engine optimization. So you're seen on ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and stuff. That takes a little time though. So it's one of those games where it takes 6 to 12 months for the organic reach to really, really start. And so I like more of the hybridization model. That's kind of what I really try to focus on with Procore Start is delivering value and providing some CE. So if you do that, you have to build an audience. You have to provide lots of content on a consistent schedule. You know what I mean? At least 2 times a week, 2 articles, 2 videos, whatever you want. Um, and you build an audience. And then once you build the audience, you sell to the audience through your email list, essentially. You can post on your Facebook page, your Instagram page, et cetera, if you get followers, and you'll get some sales there as well. But you predominantly want to build your email list and get people off of the social media platforms because with the algorithms and stuff, you can post something and you might have 10,000 followers, but 5 of them actually see your post. You know what I mean? Based off the algorithm, essentially. So if you can get people on the email list, you get off of social media, you don't have to worry about algorithms and you send it to them. And if you're sending them an email 2 or 3 times a week with actual valuable information, an article or a video or something that talks about something that's valuable in nature, when you send them an offer, they're going to open it. Most of them will. And if you've been whispering in their ear long enough, for a couple months, 3 months, 4 months, they're interested in what you're wanting to provide. And so they actually might buy your course. You know what I mean? And so I think it all comes down to building that audience and then mixing that with some paid advertising as well. I mean, you need to launch some campaigns. You can try to sell your course to a cold audience, to, cold leads if you want. With Procore Start, I have 3 campaigns right now, right? And so, I mean, I don't offer CE with Procore Start. It's just, this is how you start a course business. But you want to have 3 campaigns in general. You want to have some sort of engagement awareness campaign, right? So you can have an engagement awareness campaign on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, etc. That's just it's engagement awareness. You're sending out your content to people in your field. So if you're a medical doctor and you're selling CE to medical doctors, you target medical doctors and that's it, right? So you launch a campaign for engagement awareness. You send a bunch of free content, just free content out there so they can see it. And then you want to create a lead campaign. So you want to generate leads. You want to build your email list. You want leads. And so you create 2 different kind of ad sets within the lead campaign. You target the warm audience from your engagement awareness campaign, right? People who watch your videos, people who've liked your videos, people who've commented, they're warm. They kind of know you exist. Target them through a warm campaign and then target just more cold leads, right? If you do this the right way, you should be getting 20 to 50 email subscribers daily. I mean, that's what you should be getting. It's 20 to 50 a day at probably $5 a pop. Um, and then you create your sales campaign. So that's going to be then targeting all the warm leads. You don't really target cold on your sales campaign. So now you target everyone who's engaged with your videos and your articles, anyone who signed up for your leads. Now you target them directly through your ads. Hey, this is our course. So that's how you really set that up, and it works. So I know it's kind of a long-winded answer.
How easy is it to get CE, points for the various courses that you create?
How easy is it to get CE accredited? Um, it's really not that hard. A lot of people have this limiting belief that they think that getting CE accreditation is this very long process, that it's really difficult. The reality of it is it's not. It's a pay to play game for the most part. Most of these accrediting organizations are for profit organizations. The AMA, like, I mean, are we really going to believe that's not for profit? Yeah, right. So like, come on, like, yeah, sure it is, and that's how most of them are. And so it's a pay to play game. You pay them the application fees, then you pay them the processing fees, then you got to pay them, to be on some webinar to learn about what you need to add to your course, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a pay to play game, and it's telling them what they want to hear at the end of the day. And so, and then for you to accredit your courses, you have to follow a standard that they give you. So your courses have to meet certain at the very beginning of the course, it says who the speaker is. It makes them disclose any kind of financial interest that they might have. You know what I mean? So, if like this MD also works for this pharmaceutical company, they need to disclose that. Those are set by the accreditation organization. So, you have to put that information in your course, and they won't allow you to talk about some certain things, like very experimental kind of medical knowledge, more alternative medicine, more non-FDA approved treatments. They might not allow you to attach CE to those kinds of courses. And so it's just you got to follow their standards. But if you follow their standards, they'll give you the accreditation. Like they want you to be accredited at the end of the day. That's what they want. They want you to be accredited because they want to keep charging you money. It's just like your license. You know what I mean? Kind of take your board exams or whatever every 7 years. Like they want your money. Like, so they want you to get accredited. So you basically tell them what they want to hear and pay them. It's just sometimes it's a lengthy process. Sometimes it can take a few months, 6 months. Sometimes it can take a year. It just really depends. Now, I don't want people to think that that is a limiting factor in creating a CE business, because there are two other opportunities that you can use that are a lot faster. So what I just talked about is accrediting your entire business,
Mhm.
accrediting your organization. That allows you basically free will to attach CE to whatever you want. So you can attach CE to a webinar. You can attach CE to a article that you write and have a quiz at the end of it. You can attach CE to whatever that done through really any other, in any accreditation organization. Usually you can get credit just a single course. That process is very, very quick. You pay them some money, a couple $1,000. They review it to make sure it meets their standards, and that's it. Or you can do something called a joint providership opportunity. And a joint providership opportunity is where you utilize another organization's accreditation to put CE onto your course. That process is very quick. It can take a few weeks. And now you can attach CE to your course using someone else's accreditation. And, matter of fact, I'm actually partnered with someone who's AMA accredited, and he, gives Pro Course Start students a discount and stuff for people who want to use his accreditation to put CME onto, a course. So that process takes about 4 weeks. So you can do that, cost 3 or 4 thousand bucks, maybe five. It depends on how many hours you want.
How do you find such a person that is wanting to partner with you for that?
How did I find that person?
No, how does one?
Oh, how does one find that person?
Yeah.
You just look up joint providership opportunities, essentially. So you like go to Google or you go to ChatGPT or Gemini, and you can ask, basically ask, who is a joint provider for whatever accreditation that you want in my space? Can you please provide me a list of that? And it should you should there's just websites out there. There's entire businesses literally just built around joint providership and nothing else. The man that I partnered with, I think he's a critical care doctor, and he has a business where he's accredited for CME, and he will provide you the joint providership. If you want to have a business that offers AMA, hours credits.
Well,
So
that's good for my listeners to know.
yeah.
What can providers learn through building a continuing education course? And how does that translate to their professional career?
So what can they learn from starting one, and how does it translate? Um, I think what you'll learn very, very quickly as you do this is that your knowledge is extremely valuable. Like you might not realize that your expertise as a doctor, as an MD, a DO, chiropractor, whatever, like you might not realize that your knowledge and your expertise is something seen as very valuable. When in reality, if you think about it, your knowledge and your information and your head and your skills and your expertise is your asset. Without it, are you really a doctor? You are not, right? Like if you hit your head and lost all of your medical knowledge, what do you do now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't do anything. You're not a doctor anymore, right? So, your asset is your knowledge. And I don't think people really realize that. And so when you start a course business, you realize that you are selling information, right? You are selling your expertise essentially. You are putting it together. And when you start a course business, you start realizing how valuable your information actually is. And it changes your mindset. Because now when you go see patients, you go pick up a shift at the hospital or the ER or whatever you're doing, you realize how much time that takes and how active of a job it really is, versus a course business that's passive in nature for the most part, you know? So you realize how valuable your information is. And so I think that, when you translate it to your actual practice itself, your mind changes from just being a, provider, a doctor seeing patients and providing a service to, is this information that I'm teaching this patient, like this treatment plan that I just developed for this patient, whatever it is that you're doing, is this actually something valuable I could teach my students? And so you just begin taking notes on a daily basis as you work. You're like, hey, what I just did for that patient is actually pretty cool. And I see a lot of residents or nurse practitioners or PAs or whatever that don't know how to do that. Well, there you go. There's an opportunity, right? And so you go from being just someone who's working day in and day out to opportunity hunter. Like you start seeing opportunities everywhere and you really turn into a true CE business entrepreneur at that point because your mind takes a shift into, okay, there's opportunity here. There's opportunity everywhere, new residents, new grads, like they want to know what you know. Like they do. If you've been a doctor for 20 years, they would love to know what you know. So teach them, sell something, like sell a course to them. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Do you do webinars to help promote your courses?
For pro course start,
Yeah.
or just in general? If you start a course business
Well, isn't that basically what you are now? The pro?
for pro course start with a webinar. Yeah, I mean, we do. It's something new that I'm trying because I'm trying to extend my reach with pro course start. So yeah, so we have like a master class that we're coming out with. There'll be a link for that on the podcast page, for that we're going to do for this. So there's a master class and stuff, but in general, I'm cool with just calling people. Like if you're interested, just email me. Let's talk. I'm more than happy to hop on a call for 15, 30 minutes and, go through this with you. But if you start a course business, should you have webinars? Yes and no. The no component of it is webinars are active in nature, requires your time, right? Um, and so it depends on what kind of business model do you want. Do you want something that's active in nature, or do you want something that's more evergreen and passive in nature? And so you should be creating pre-recorded courses that people can buy 24/7. That's what you should be doing. That's scalable. Webinars are not scalable because it's still ultimately tied to your time, right? Private equity is not going to buy a CE business that's reliant on webinars. They're just not going to. They want a course business that they could buy where the courses are done already, right? Webinars for a course business should be used for mostly two things. Number one is a lead generation tool, right? You use it to just generate leads. You use the webinar to deliver some free value to people. So now they sign up to your email list or they buy your course, right? You can send out an ad on Facebook, webinar Wednesday night at 7 o'clock or whatever. We'll talk about this free. You get one CE hour attached to it too for free, whatever, right? You're providing value out there. 10% of the people who go to that webinar will buy your course. 50% of them will probably sign up to your email list and they might buy a course from you 6 months down the road. So it's a lead generation tool. Number two is you use webinars as a value add to your course business. And by that, I mean, if you have a membership or a mastermind program where people pay you monthly, recurrent income, that's what you like. You want recurrent income in a course business. You have a mastermind or a membership, you use webinars in there to provide extra value to your members, right? And this is the beautiful thing about that is you record the webinars. And now you have a, an asset library of pre-recorded webinars that increases the value of your membership because now you have a library within your membership for those webinars, and it's a selling point. Join my membership. We have 20 webinars about, whatever it is that you more or less teach in your CE business. Um, And so yeah, that's where you use webinars in a course business. I would not use it as your predominant product though.
Okay, so I'm a doctor and I have two or three courses that I've created. And I come to you as, like a mentor since you're very well experienced at this and say, hey, Justin, I have these courses. Nobody really knows about them yet. What are the best ways besides email to market them?
Um, I would say you want to stick. I guess let me ask you this though. Like the courses are going to be, they're like they're an online course, like a digital course,
Yeah.
not like, yeah, like not a conference thing.
Yeah.
Um, got it. So I think that number one, your email list is probably one of your most important marketing tools for this. So let's not disregard that. But the other avenues that you should be doing is it's predominantly going to be social media. That's really your powerful asset. You need to be marketing on Facebook as an example, Meta. A lot of people say Facebook's dead. That's complete nonsense. No, it's not. It's the largest social media platform on earth. It is not dead. So you should be advertising through Meta. That's Facebook and Instagram predominantly. You need to be advertising on YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, behind Google basically. So people go to YouTube to look for information.
Mm.
And so you need to be advertising on YouTube. You need to have a YouTube channel. It would be stupid not to. TikTok is something that really depends on what it is that you teach and who your target demographic is. If your target demographic are going to be more mid-level, doctors, people who are kind of mid-career, they've been practicing for 10, 15, 20 years. They might be 50 years old or something. Are those people on TikTok? Probably not. Like, um, if you're teaching residents who are 26 years old, you probably need to be on TikTok, right? So it really depends. TikTok's one of those things that it really depends on who your target demographic is, but TikTok can be very powerful. Um, and then Pinterest I wouldn't even waste your time on Pinterest. Um, Google Ads work, uh, especially if your product is something that people are searching for on a regular basis.
Mm.
Like for example, with the Elite Nurse Practitioner, a lot of providers out there are searching, how do I start my practice? Or how do I get out of burnout? There are certain keywords and search phrases that people are using. You need to figure out what those keywords are and then create ads tailored to it. So, like for example, I had a campaign at one time where if a nurse practitioner or anyone really typed out, how do I escape burnout, as a nurse practitioner, the number one result you would see was me. I'll teach you how to get out of burnout. I'll teach you how to start your own practice. You're not working for people anymore. You know what I mean? So Google works really, really well for that as well. So, and then you can do some more traditional stuff in nature. If there is a large, if there's a large, uh, if there's a business out there or a community that's focused on your profession. So if there's a community out there that's focused on like MDs or something, if you can create some ads on their site, that usually can work pretty well. Are you familiar with Doximity?
Sure.
Doximity, yeah. Most medical providers are. Throw some ads on Doximity. That stuff is actually it's actually pretty efficient. So that's a model as well. And then another model that you can do is more of a free marketing strategy, and I call it community engagement marketing. And essentially, what you do is you just go into communities that are specific to what it is that you do. Facebook groups, message boards, subreddits, etc. Get in there, provide some free value, answer people's questions, make some thought-provoking posts, etc. And people will see what it is that you're doing. They will see you answering questions, etc. And they'll start asking you, how can you help me? It gives you the opportunity to really showcase your expertise. And plus, the beautiful thing about Reddit is that I'm sure most people listening to this, if you search on Google, if you search a question on Google, sometimes like the third or fourth, or sometimes even the first um, entry that comes up on your search query is like a Reddit post. And so if you post on Reddit on a regular basis, you're number one, providing value to that community itself. But number two, the SEO on Reddit is amazing. So if you can just throw out some stuff on Reddit too, if people start searching for what it is that you're doing more or less, your post will be seen through just simple Google searches. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. If someone from our listening audience wants to reach you, how do they go about that?
Yeah, you can just go to procoursestart.com, www.procoursestart.com/MT. I'm going to write it for basically marketing tips. So it's marketing tips for doctors. So procoursestart.com/MT. I'll have a link there with, how to opt into our email list, 10% coupon for podcast listeners if you're interested in the Procore Start Blueprint, which is our comprehensive guide on how to actually create a CE business. It's 15 hours long. It's a pretty comprehensive course. And then there's some mentorship opportunity there too. So you can just go to procoursestart.com/MT or look for us on Facebook, Procore Start, Instagram, Procore Start 25. Our YouTube channel is Procore Start, or you can just email me, Justin@procoursestart.com.
Okay, well, for those people that don't have a pen handy, those like URLs will be on the show notes, so you don't have to panic about not listening in a fast pace and not being able to remember it. So anyway, that concludes our session for today. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Justin, for participating. This has been another episode of Marketing Tips for Doctors with your host, Dr. Barbara Hales. Till next time.
Cool.